So what are the limiting factors? Looking at this report 40 years ago, Limits to Growth, there were some things that they left out, actually. They didn't take into account the financial system, and as it turns out, that's really important. These are the three limiting factors that it appears are actually converging to constrain economic growth right now. Debt, what's that about? Well, I'm sure there are more than a few economists in the room, so I'm going to oversimplify tremendously, but we can't not talk about this. I asked rhetorically earlier, what if you had to build your own car? Well, of course, nobody does that because we get them built for us with assembly lines. That was one of the great gifts of the Industrial Revolution, powered assembly lines. So with powered assembly lines, we can make stuff in enormous quantities far faster than we could otherwise do. Faster, in fact, than people at the beginning of this era were accustomed to buying things. Automobiles, of course, are the icon of the industrial era. How did we solve this problem of overproduction, making stuff in larger quantities and faster than people would ordinarily buy it? Well, we solved it with a couple of strategies. One was advertising, inventing a whole new giant industry to talk people into wanting more stuff all the time. And that included subsidiary strategies like planned obsolescence, making stuff so that it would reliably break down over a relatively short period of time. And the other big strategy, though, was consumer credit, helping people to go into debt to buy more stuff. Consume now, pay later. Push consumption forward in time, basically, was the strategy. And that's worked very well to create more economic growth and more profits to industry. So with all of this economic growth happening, not only did old-fashioned economists theorize that this could go on forever, they also built the expectation into the very sinews of our financial system, even our monetary system. Fractional reserve banking has been around for a long time, but up until the 20th century, in most periods, money was tied to real stuff in some way or other. Even on a dollar bill, it says it's a promise to pay. But a promise to pay what? Well, $1. Well, what is $1? Up until, a few decades ago, you could define $1 in terms of gold or silver. But that was a practical limit to the growth of the economy because there was only so much gold and silver. So one of the things we did over the course of the 20th century, and there are perfectly good reasons for it, and I'm not suggesting we go back to gold or silver. I think that would be a horrible mistake. But by severing that bond, we created money that was essentially tied to interest-bearing debt. Go into the bank, take out a loan for $10,000. The banker doesn't search around in the vault for $10,000 that somebody deposited there. No, the $10,000 is created as a deposit in your account. And when you pay back the $10,000, that money actually disappears off the balance sheet. It's magic, but of course the interest is not created at the moment the loan is made, so where does that come? It comes from you doing business with other people in the economy who are themselves taking out loans, and as long as the whole economy is constantly growing, so that the total amount of debt is growing, so that the total amount of money is growing, then theoretically everybody can pay back their loans with interest and everyone's fine. But if the whole thing stops growing at any point, then you have a cascading series of defaults that can wipe out the entire system. And that's kind of what started to happen in the 1930s. Well, the 1980s were a turning point in all of this because as a result of certain innovations, container ships, satellite communications, computer monitoring of inventories, globalization became possible. So American factory workers were now competing with workers everywhere else in the world. That worked to drive down wages, so as I'm sure everybody here knows, average American wages haven't increased since the early 1970s. Wages stagnate, so how do we keep the economy growing? More debt. So in virtually every year since 1980, debt has grown faster than GDP, faster than the real economy. So if you take out that $10,000 loan, that's an obligation to repay. For the banker, that same loan is an asset. So the assets of the financial industry have grown faster than the rest of the economy. The financial economy has grown faster than manufacturing or agriculture or anything else. So that means that the financial sector has gained political power within the economy at the same time, because, of course, money is not just this neutral means of exchange, it is political power.